live.
Oh, got some big plans for this one, man. This one's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you had everything you sent me sounded so good. I was
So
excited.
we'll be reviewing and listening to both singles from Carcosa and Amity Affliction. The first one we'll do will be "I See Dead People." I haven't heard anything, or I haven't heard any of the song yet. I've heard a lot of good things about it though, so I'm excited. I'm hoping there's a nice breakdown, and then we'll change the genre up to Carcosa's single. A little bit of deathcore, more harder stuff. So I'm excited for that. So we'll get right into it.
It's gonna be good. Like, where am I? Here we are. And just 1 second.
Woo, man! Way to start it off, man. Way to start it off. Wow.
Fantastic. Definitely earns a thumbs up. That's
Yeah,
that's
that
so good.
that was heavy. The screams, dude. That was. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Their last single that they had was "Show Me Your God." I listened to some of that and I was like, okay, I like where this is going. You got Drag the Leg, you got Pittsburgh by them. They're more melodic, and that was just straight. That was good. Let's hear your thoughts. Let's hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed. Like, to me, I don't know. I feel like so many bands try to kind of like mix up. Like, they're a lot more melodic these days, so it's impressive to just like it's heavy. The little weird bridge part near the end, I was like, it's neither here nor there. Like, I don't know. A part of it, like, instead of spoken word, it would be nice to hear a little bit of melodic stuff, but it's still fantastic. Those are my
I
thoughts.
can agree with that. I was just taken aback by the speed, man.
Yeah,
The speed of that drum, that kick pedal, the screams, the blah. That is. I don't know. That couldn't have been. I didn't think it was going to be that good. I'm not going to lie to you.
yeah,
I like Amity Affliction a lot, and there's a lot of people, it's their favorite band. They're from Australia. You got bands like Polaris, Alpha Wolf, Parkway Drive, They Art Is Murder. These Australians, man, they know how to bring the heat. I'm gonna say that.
yeah,
The screaming was perfect though, and just the little chugs on that guitar. I think if they had that way with this album, I'm sure that they're working on. I'm not 100%, but you had that route. That's different. That's a different sound, and
yeah,
I think what we're starting to really see, especially right now, is that bands they're changing their sound, but they're kind of going backwards now. You would think typically you're going more melodic, a little softer, more of a harder rock, a little bit of metal, and that was just straight. Here it is. I can't imagine what that song would be like in the mosh pit. I'll tell you that.
yeah. I mean, it really was like just the speed and the guitars. Like, it was, yeah. The way it was mixed was really good too.
Yeah, I
I
thought the
like that.
same thing.
That mixing was good because that's the main critique I have sometimes when bands start to go a little bit more like that thrash sound almost. Sometimes it can get kind of muddy, but like it's always impressive to me when you have clarity and speed.
Yeah, I like the ambient noise that was added into the backing too.
Yeah.
That was something that I noticed, like this kind of synthy, I guess you could say. Um,
Yeah.
you know, these guys have been around since I think like 2003. Uh, they kind of started as like a kind of like a post-hardcore, and like I said, man, they're just your typical metalcore band. You got the screams, you got the melodic singing choruses, and just with that, I was taken aback. If my reaction wasn't enough, oh my gosh, I want more. I want more of that.
Yeah. No, I was very impressed of like just the way that like they broke it down and stuff. Like it was because that's the main thing. Like you said, most bands start to get softer because at this point, I mean, if you started doing this in 2003, that's 20 years. Like that does get hard on your vocals after a while. Like sometimes
Yeah,
people either get quieter or they start to change the scream sound a bit. Like,
and they've went through
yeah,
a few harsh vocalists, I do believe. I currently don't know the names of who was prior involved, but I am pretty sure that they have had multiple vocalists. But I'll tell you what, they've kept that sound, they've kept the fan base around with it, and like I said, there are people that are diehard Amity fans, man, and
yeah,
I like them too. They're not on top of my knowledge of what I know about them, but I know that they've been around for a long time and they got some great songs, some bangers. And like, heck, I think it was a couple years ago. It's funny that this song, I wouldn't say the title's the same, but they dropped a song, All My Friends Are Dead, a couple years back.
yeah,
And it was a lot like this, like just straight to the point. The blast beats are what I was like, what?
yeah.
Like,
Just fantastic.
yeah. I'll tell you what. Like, out of a 10, I'm gonna give that a solid 9, man. I'm
Yeah,
definitely putting that right on my phone right after this. Probably gonna listen to it
yeah.
again. What about you? What are you thinking?
I'm definitely I would lean I would say namely because I missed the clear vocals a little bit. Like I kind of wish they had been there. So I'd still say a high 8. Like it's
I
close to 9, but like here's the kicker though. If you had thrown in just a little bit of clean vocals, kind of like Drag the Lake or something, like where you have that slight, even if it's not long, just like a little teaser, I could have put it almost a 10, I'd say.
really
Yeah, I
just
would
that little
say
subtle
it's
change.
just something. Just like I don't know. I guess I don't know. I've been listening a lot to the Drag the Lake album recently. So it's like it's a lot of that mix, but that heavy sound. It's nice. Like they nailed it. Don't
Oh
get me
yeah,
wrong. Like it's
I
still like just
that's
phenomenal.
as of right now. I mean, heck, it's only been 2023 for a few months, but that's definitely up there for singles for me.
Yeah.
Singles released, breakdown, all around like heavy sound for me. That's definitely up there for me. Right now, what takes the cake so far has been the Falling in Reverse, Watch the World Burn. Sorry, Ronnie
So
Radke,
good.
man, that dude. I would have loved. I wish he would have released the song like last week when I didn't already listen to it, because I would have loved to review that one because that
Yeah.
dude is. I mean, that song's up in the charts right now. One of their biggest hits.
Hmm.
For the first time ever, they're in the top 100 for their Billboard. And they've been around. I mean, Ronnie escaped the fate into Falling in Reverse. I'm sure it's been almost 20 years.
Yeah. Because
So
Escape the Fate was like very well. Like at that point, they were doing really well. There was
yeah,
guillotine situations, all that stuff. That was like 2006, 2007. I
yeah,
feel like.
yeah, and it was it was interesting how well that they still went off with Craig Mabbitt.
Yeah.
Joining them, and then they did another guillotine. I think the most impressive thing about that whole song, the start of it, is that's from Halo. It's about
Yeah.
Halo, so that's pretty cool. But not to get too off track, it's kind of leading into it. 2023 so far has been pretty damn good year for some singles, man.
Yeah, like we're
I mean,
6 weeks in and it's already like
yeah, like Veil of
yeah,
Maya just dropped Godspeed and another one. I can't remember the name of it. They're going back to their heavier sound. That
nice.
original, like, dare I say, like deathcore. They're going back to it, and it's just so far. I cannot complain about what we've been blessed with so far this year in
Yeah,
metal.
it's been I know I it's the weird thing is the past 3 years have been really good because when
Oh
you're
yeah,
talking about best albums of 2022 and I was going through it, The weird thing is, half the things I was starting to list were all from 2021, but like felt just as fresh.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, there was no way that I was like, have I been listening to that for 2 years now? Because I feel like it was way sooner than that.
Yeah. I actually ran into the same thing when I was like looking through like my list. I'm like, oh shit, that's from 2021. What? You know?
Yeah.
So I went through the same thing, which I'm extremely excited to touch on that as well later into the episode here.
Mhm.
That one's gonna be fun. But yeah, I'll tell you what, that blew me away. I
Yeah.
was not expecting what I heard, and just, I mean, you can see it in the reaction, man. That was live emotion. So
Yeah. It was so good. We might have to speed it up to avoid copyright infringement, but you'll see. You'll get to see us in high
yeah,
speed. That's yeah. That was it was impressive. Like just the way they did the music video is great too. Like it's like very dark, but still like
yeah.
I mean, like the song, like very heavy, but still like clear elements.
Well, and you could really understand what they were saying as well. And the dark title of the song itself, added in with the music video really helped kind of push that, I guess, emotion. I thought there was a lot of emotion with it as well. I do believe the song's about a friend that passed away, actually. A very, very close friend of one of the band members, from what I did see a little bit of the like what it's about. I avoided everything on TikTok when it came to that song. As soon as it popped up, I'm like, that's a perfect one that we can start with reviewing, as well as the Carcosa one. I'm super excited about that
Yeah.
one.
That one's coming up.
People. I guess we can touch on it just a little bit. These two guys, the guitarist for Angel Maker, Johnny, and then Andrew. I might have mixed that up. No, it is Johnny. I'm sorry. And then Andrew, they started on YouTube doing like metal impressions, and
Nice.
just taking random things out of a hat and screaming it in a certain style, and it really, really blew up. They took it to TikTok, and they kind of created a little band themselves. They're actually, I believe, going on their first tour starting this year, and I 100% plan to go to a show. So, cool fact about that, just how we touched on our last episode about how much social media, the internet, has just helped this scene as a whole out. It's just like that. This band really got to take some a good step forward within it, because people thought it was funny, people liked it, and it caught the right people, and here we are. So they're an up and coming band that I have listened to, and I was very excited when I seen that this single was out, because I was like, perfect.
That's gonna be a good one. Let's pull it up. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Official lyric video.
Oh, straight to the point there. My gosh.
Just phenomenal.
Straight to the point there, my friend. Oh my gosh. That was deathcore. that was heavy. That was good. The lyrics, they smack you right in the face.
Yeah.
Reading them. A lot of definitely anger, I think, was involved within writing that. Definitely a still open wound. Let's just say that. I think that was incredible vocals for me personally. The pig squeal, the gutturals, the highs, that was just good. That was good. Let's hear what you think. I don't know how into the heavier aspect of the deathcore, the heavier stuff you are. So I'm really wanting to hear your full opinion on this one, because that's everything I love right there. That was brutal, right to the face, ignorant in a sense. I loved it.
Oh, it was. I like the intensity. I like, for one, Carcosa, the name. It's great. The fact that it's a true detective reference, like the Yellow King, like it's a whole like the whole ambiance is great. And I did actually like the heaviness of it. What at one point, what I really love in the lyrics is when they say the word dissipate, and it's like, like, and
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
bounce to it, and it's
dude.
that really like real guttural sound to it. I'm impressed. Like overall, like I like the aesthetics, and I like the fact that when bands will put out singles now, they do lyric videos are really easy to do, and they're entertaining. Like back in the day, we were talking about watching things on Windows Media Player with cool little visualizers that match the music. It's
Hmm.
like it's an easy way to promote your album and the what you're putting out.
Yeah, that that was incredible. I
Yeah.
must say, the highs, man. That's what gets me
Mhm.
in that within that song. I think that Johnny. I think he's the one that does the highs. A lot of the highs, the pig squeals. And, it might be both of them. They might both just do such a great high, but it almost is like the death metal screech. You know that 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 high pitched screech kind of like to me really sets the tone of like how dark it is, I guess, how heavy it's gonna be, and I love that. The pig
Yeah.
squeals, the breeze, the something I noticed was how the tempo changed. I believe towards the end after that dissipate part,
Mhm.
it really went into like a slower, I don't know, 5 seconds of grooviness, kind of.
Yeah, like that was the weird part. Like you could actually hear the tone change for the song of like
Yeah, yeah,
just that little bit
yeah,
of the change.
and
I
that was very
It's
good.
definitely great.
Yeah,
Understand.
I'm excited to hear more from these guys. Like I said, they really blew up on TikTok in the metal community, and having Johnny and Angel Maker, who's a very big deathcore band right now. They just released Sanctum, I think in 2021, maybe might have even been 2022. I loved that album, and they just released Knee Deep, a cover by Job for a Cowboy, blown that out of the water, and then in Dying Days by As Blood Runs Black, who some call the kind of the front runners of that scene before Suicide Silence. So in my opinion, the In Dying Days cover was, my gosh, if you haven't listened to it,
Yeah.
anybody, you got to check that out.
Well, I
Um,
mean, Job for a Cowboy. When I saw them live as a teenager, they were so good. Like
yeah,
just great show.
the first song I had to learn on drums for me to be in my first band was "Entombment of a Machine" by Job for a Cowboy, and this is before I did not like metal like this. I did not like this style because I was like, oh, you can't understand what he says. Da 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 da. Whatever. I didn't like it, but that was the first metal song, metal that I learned how to play on drums, and like with blast beats, I'd learn how to blast beat, and just I still know how to play it to this day. Actually, believe it or
Nice.
not, it's a very very fun song to play, and it's a very good one to go back to and listen to for that like authenticity factor of like the original sound of what we kind of know and love today. And you can see it in a lot of these bands, like kind of how they bring it in. Of course, the vocalists, I think, have gotten so much further ahead than what, we're used to. They're going much harsher, doing things we've never heard. Will Ramos, Tom Barber, as an example, just perfect to throw in there. Even Johnny and Andrew in Carcosa, they are adding in things that you typically weren't hearing back then in the OG times, I guess, that it was brought into the mix. So it's quite impressive how that kind of came together.
Yeah. I mean, overall, just like very good.
So
I'd
what would
have
you
to
say? What would you say out of 10?
add some yellow in here. I Here's what's going to be controversial after my last rating is I would actually give that I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
9 out
Really?
of 10. Yeah,
Wow.
the dissipate got me. That the weird slight tone change of just
That
like the
yeah.
pacing, like it just slowed down for a second of like,
That effect
yeah.
that was added into the vocals. Ah, man, for me, so I'm not going to compare it in any way into Amity Afflictions, um, just for the sole reason that they're totally kind of different genres, right? Um, and see, I'm probably going to say an 8 for me. I liked it a lot. Um, I liked how brutal and straightforward it was. Uh, but I I just I expected more, and maybe that's because I listened to the Amity Affliction song, and I expected so little, and I expected the Carcosa one to blow me away, and it didn't. Nothing against it. It's a great tune. It's a great single that was released. But we started off with something too hot, in my opinion, and that's kind of why that's a little lower than I expected it to be. But man, that's okay. That's what makes this kind of fun because we've seen. I expected you to actually not like it as much, and you liked it just as much, more.
So yeah, I would say more. And here's the funny part is I came into the Amity Affliction one expecting to be blown out of the water.
Yeah,
Like I was expecting to be blown out of the water.
it's kind of the opposite of
Yeah, it's the
exactly what
inverse.
we both thought
Yeah,
was going to happen. So that
yeah.
was honestly that's pretty incredible. I like that a lot. But yeah, um, it doesn't change the fact that I'm excited to see more from these guys. Um, they, like I said, that the rise to success that they got through TikTok and social media, and then being able to go on a tour for the first time, it's going to help them out a lot. Um, so it's going to be exciting to see. And like I said, I'm 100% going. And like I said, there's songs by them that I do like more than that. I have listened to other ones, but yeah, for me, I'm gonna definitely make that about an 8.5 for me. That
It's
Amity
so
one,
funny.
that Amity
It's the
one,
exact opposite.
yeah, it really is. It blew me out of the water though. That Amity Affliction one. I think a lot of it had to do with you kind of you kind of know what to expect with these heavier heavier stuff like the deathcore and stuff, and then with metalcore when you completely take out the melodic side of it, it kind of like adds a shock factor to the mix, in my opinion. So I think that has a lot to do with it for me personally. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stay solid on that 8.5.
That's that's so funny that we came in with the exact opposite expectations. I was like, Carcosa,
I
like
know. I'm just
cool
as surprised
name,
as you are,
reverse sample
actually.
theirs. Yeah. So,
I'm just as surprised as you are with that, actually.
I think because I'm a big fan of True Detective, like just the ambiance that they chose of the yellow, the Carcosa, like the
And the
name,
creative,
everything.
the creative
Yeah.
behind, kind of like you're digging into
Mhm.
not just the name's Carcosa. You're seeing what that means in itself. So yeah, you're looking into it in a really in-depth thing, and it's interesting
Yeah.
uh,
It
because
is.
this is something that would be overlooked by most.
Yeah. Because I was very impressed by that. And also, I mean, I guess in, yeah. I guess in my mind too, like a part of you, and I know it's not necessarily fair, but there is that part when you see like you're like the song has it's been out for days and it's like 9,000 plays. You're like, is it going to be good? And then I hear it and I'm like, that deserves as many plays as that Amity Affliction song, possibly more in my opinion, which
I
would be
love it.
controversial.
I love it. It's not
Yeah,
controversial at all. I love that
yeah,
because it's different. Not being on the same page with everything is great.
hmm
You got your reasons why. I got my reasons why. It's nothing personal. It's just it's really interesting to me how you can be a fan of the same exact kind of stuff, but just one little thing can change it, or
hmm
the way that it flows changes. Just the whole sound in itself changes, and that's what's I think very interesting about that whole thing. And that's why I actually love talking about music so much and showing and expanding and looking into other things, because you can take two people that love the same thing and they love the same thing, but one also really likes rap, for example, right? And then you can kind of like talk to them and be like, "Hey, man, you should check this out. This band kind of falling in reverse did it. They rap,
Mhm.
they go to the metal. Hey, man, if you really like rap, you should check out this song. Ronnie's flows, disgusting, and then it goes into the metals thing, and that's what's that's what's cool, because then it stems off into something different. So that's I think that's actually really funny though. How, like you said, polar opposites of exactly what we thought we were gonna feel about each song, each single. Um,
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I'm
And then
like, yeah, your expectations change everything.
go ahead. I think I accidentally cut you off.
Oh no, I was like, it's just the expectations. And a part of it also I think might have been slightly unfair to Amity Affliction is today, just to make sure we're on the same page, I listened to the top 5 albums of 2022. And in my mind, Amity Affliction's at that tier of like up there with, I'd say, Fit for a King. So I guess my expectations, I was like, I'm going to be blown out of the water. And it was
Yeah,
still good, but it's that weird experience where you're like,
it's
this is going to be
it's
a 10 out of 10.
it's
And
just
then it's
like
like,
you didn't get what you expected to see or hear.
yeah, which I guess it's different. And a part of me of like, I'll be honest, a part of me likes to have, I don't know, a part of me likes to hear those reminders of like what other things, like those strings together of like, so maybe that's part of it. I think if I had come in with lower expectations, because in my mind, I guess like the way people had been talking about it, I was kind of expecting it to be up there with like Pittsburgh or something like that.
Yeah,
Like one of those ones that like it's still great, don't get me wrong, and everything. I like the fact that they did the same thing that A Day to Remember did, of like going lighter on their last album and then going heavier with these singles and stuff.
yeah,
Like I think that variety is key.
yeah. And like I think I touched on in the beginning, we're starting to notice that a lot of bands are kind of going backwards. Not
Mhm.
in a bad way, backwards in their sound. You're the next step up is kind of, I dare I say, going more commercially popular, but you're taking a
Yeah.
step out of it and kind of going the heavier route. So and honestly, what I think's happening right now is that it's catching more, it's gaining more ground, you
Mhm.
know, because it's different. Um, I just saw on Twitter they kind of did a poll. Somebody, I think it's State of the Scene is what it's called. They did a poll. It was like, what what about metal and or metalcore and deathcore makes a new song stand out, or what makes these bands stand out? And boatload of comments adding in, more emotion, whatever. And I commented on it like completely changing, like we just said, going backwards. Having these bands that started out, excuse me, heavy, and then they went a little softer, more melodic, and then they go right back to heavy. Fit for a King did that.
Yeah.
From gosh, I cannot remember the album, but it had God of Fire on it, louder voice, all that. That was more hard rock ish metal, and then the Hell We Create just, we're getting that original Fit for a King sound back. Um,
Yeah.
so I think for me that's what really adds the um wow factor, the it factor, to making it
Yeah.
pop out again.
And it was Guardians of the Path was the EP with the flames on it
Yeah,
in 2021,
yeah,
which is also crazy to me. That's another thing. I was pretty sure I was like, that came out last year, didn't it? And it's like, no, the Path was 2020. Like that's wild.
yeah,
But I think you're right that people are going back in a way of, I mean, it's funny. I remember a few years ago, people were talking about like the music scene coming back of like back when we were all seeing kids in 2003 to 2008. They were like, we're going back there. And it's funny because it is weird to be like, at this point, I'll be turning 33 this year, and to go have bands now making the sounds that I enjoyed as like 13, 14, all those like earlier years, 20 years later, it's weird to revisit.
Yeah, going back to the roots,
Yeah.
and I don't think, and I'm sure there would be an argument for some people. Some people would be like, "Oh, it's a lack of creativity." Nah, it's fresh again.
Hmm.
It's fresh again. It's new again. It's different. It's so, Veil Maya did it too
Yeah.
with their two singles. Man, they went completely backwards to their original sound, and a lot of people hated what they turned to, and then
Hmm.
now they come out with this, and it's like, holy crap! Like, it's yeah. I'm glad we
Just
both kind of.
phenomenal.
I think I'm glad that we both kind of see the same dynamic that's going on with it.
Yeah. And I think a part of it, like you see aesthetics going on like that, like emos kind of coming back, like people are talking about these things of like this nostalgia factor of, and I think a part of it as someone who's like been a huge fan now for of some of these things for almost 20 years is I would say a part of it, and maybe it's just this is me projecting, but a part of it there was like a portion of my life where I was kind of embarrassed about the things that I liked as a teenager. And then it's like a few, like 5 or 10 years, like, yeah, I'd say about 7 years ago, I started getting really back into the things I loved and like not being embarrassed about it because there was that part where people would always talk about like the cringe of this or like the cringe, like, and it's
Raw
like, no,
XD.
yeah, like that, like it was kind of a meme for a while. And, part of it was like,
Yeah,
oh, like, were ironically emo or whatever. And now
yeah,
it's like, no, it's genuinely it's good music. Like it's
yeah.
good stuff.
I've always been like that myself. Um, not not embarrassed. I've always embraced it myself personally. I've always liked being on the edge. I liked being different. I liked liking what I did while my friends were like, "Oh, why are you listening to this screamy stuff, man?" Well, guess what? Those friends that felt that way started listening to it and loving it too. So, um, I guarantee you that you felt a lot better after you went back to just kind of not
Yeah.
really caring what other people thought, though.
Yeah. And I think that's a part of that's key of like, I think it's, I guess a part of it's like being able to decouple the bad experiences you might have had during a certain portion of your life with like the things you liked at that point in life. I think that was a bit of part of it of like, as someone who partied pretty hard as like a young person, like late teens, early 20s, there was a part of me that like felt bad about that. So the things I liked about it or the things I liked during some of those times, I just kind of like I don't know about how to describe it, but it's almost like working through the trauma of not being able to disassociate the like things you liked from the experiences you had. And as you
I
get
see.
older, you make peace with it. And you're like, oh no, this is like good. Like
Yeah,
this is good stuff. And you're not reminded of the pain of like a lot of people like it's that growth factor of like kind of you think of it like let's say you have a bad breakup so you can't ever listen to this song because it reminds you of that person and then once you finally made peace with it and move on you're like no that song's still a banger like I'm
yeah.
not going to stop listening to it.
It's exactly. I think to sum it up for you in a statement is that time heals. Time always heals,
And I
in a
think that's
sense.
it. Yeah, like I think it takes that time of like and I think being more comfortable with yourself of like I think
Knowing who you are,
yeah, knowing who
coming
you
into
are.
it.
And I think it's that same thing of like I think bands you'll hear that sometimes of like once they come become very comfortable with themselves, they'll just go all out and do whatever they want. Whereas I think sometimes there is this like especially for bands trying to make it big, sometimes it's this idea of trying to replicate this your hit singles or trying to like have the same album flow.
Yeah,
Whereas it's like growth is good. Like change happens and stuff. One song I always love that's not metal is the song "Mama Said" by the band Pussifer, Maynard's. other side band from Tool, but it has those layers of like change will come, life will have its way, and stuff. Like I think that's important. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of this, like the return to the early 2000s, but with a
Yeah.
twist. That's why once we go into our albums of the year for 2022, there is the first album we'll talk about, which is 5 on the list. Very much has that blend of the future, like all the great things about the 2020s, plus like heavy stuff.
Yes.
So it's like,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
great.
And I actually want to touch on what you said just a little bit, and then I guess we can go into that, or we can just flow into however. Anyways, when you brought up about the sticking to the same sound, the same album flow, the same sound flow, the same writing process, that whole flow state that you kind of brought up, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Um, you're damned if you stay the same because there's always going to be those people on the outside that hate it, and then you're damned if you do because people don't like the new change, the new sound, the new structure. Uh, you know, so I wanted to touch on that, but I personally I agree with you with how you led into that and then finished it out. I 100% agree with you, but I did want to add that in. You
Yeah.
know, the gatekeeping is unfortunately a real thing, and you know, just having these bands, you know, like the Amity Affliction, um, they've been doing it for a while, and guess what? They've been right there the entire time, right here the entire time. With popularity,
Yeah.
with bangers, with songs, like their fans are diehard fans, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Both songs were bangers. They're still both very good.
absolutely,
I think,
absolutely,
and it's so funny though that we both came in with slightly different expectations. I was like, this
yeah.
one, this one's going to be a 9 out of 10, and then it wasn't quite what I expected, so it got an 8, 8.5, and then
My
you're like, yeah,
my heavier listening friends, they're gonna be smacking me up for that. They're gonna be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Listen, man, I can't say anything else except what I said in the beginning. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. It was amazing. And then the other one I expected a lot. And to so yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna catch hate for it, but that's okay.
and I like this format of like listening to a song for the first time with someone else who enjoys the same kind of music. Like there's a
Yeah,
different feel to it because so
yeah.
often like I'll be listening on the way to something, or I'm in my car and like kind of passively listening, and it's weird to like sit there and like listen to the whole 3.5 minutes. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I personally have always wanted to like review stuff live for the first time because I'm always such an animated fucking person. Fucking
Yeah,
like, oh my god, what the fuck? The pig squeal, that like the breakdown, the chugs. You know, I get so animated
yeah,
about that, and I just I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, God, I wish I would have just recorded so I could have seen my pure straight emotion come out in that. You know, let's just say 6 minute, 3 minute song. Like
yeah.
I would just love to see it, and I got to experience it with both songs and kind of I'll be able to see it. So it's going to be cool when we get
Yeah.
to it.
It's
Uh,
good. It's gonna be real fun if we can get to the point where we have a Patreon and can do just like streams on a platform that isn't going to copyright your video
yeah,
and take it down.
yeah.
Like it'll be nice to have like live listening parties. Like
Oh yeah.
that would be real fun because
Oh and
Patreon you can do your own streaming and stuff,
yeah
and you
and
can stream directly from here. So we
hmm
might do private streams for people
and
eventually.
without a doubt, it's we'll get there too.
We'll
You
get
know,
there. But yeah,
100%.
that's the main thing. Is like it's crazy. I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, it might this episode might take a long time because two songs and we're already 45 minutes in.
I mean,
And that's
eh,
the main thing. Is the beautiful part about this is that it's all connected.
yeah,
It's all
and I
so good.
mean, like you said about how we knew that this was going to be a little bit of a longer one. You know, you look at other review channels,
Mhm.
um, like they're reviewing one song for 20 minutes, 23
Yeah,
minutes, and the song's 4 minutes. there's a lot to touch on with them. And then,
Yeah.
having two people co-host a show like this, we're not talking to somebody that's randomly watching, asking questions. We're asking each other questions. We're talking to each other about, so that's kind of the cool dynamic that we're adding in with this that I think is that is really interesting. It's cool. So we're able to constantly add in on this, touch on that. We'll get a little sidetracked, but it all comes together into the full. It all comes full circle into the topic of discussion.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part of, like, for one, this is fun, and like there's no
Yeah,
time. There's no
I
real
love
time
this.
limit. It's like we make our own thing.
Yeah,
Like,
this is like my favorite thing I've ever done.
yeah.
Honestly.
And that's the main thing. It's like I wanted to be able to share this with someone who like had that excitement. Because it is
Yeah.
like listening to that song, you're like, this is good.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. Like
I
this is
almost punched my monitor twice.
and it was funny listening to like watching your reaction to the Amity song because I was like, he's feeling what I was expecting to feel.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, man, I fucking get animated when I listen to songs. I mean, I'm gonna just say it. I wish that I could have seen my reaction to when Lorna Shore dropped Pain Remains. Oh my gosh, part 1. I can't think of the damn song right now because I'm having a brain fart. Give me 1 second. I don't even care. I'm not even embarrassed to do this. I think it's Dancing Like Flames, but I don't want to say it wrong. Yeah, Dancing Like Flames. Dude, I bawled. When I listened to that whole song. The music video created such an emotion. The words, the lyrics, and he can enunciate very well. Will Ramos can. For anybody that listens to the music, he enunciates very well in his screaming. Oh, kitty, kitty.
Cinnabon had to visit real quick.
And just like the whole flow of the music video, and then the guitar, man, like added such an emotional factor. And then it goes into the slowdown part. And just when he said that line, coming into a world without you wasn't meant for me. Where do I go when I close my eyes? I felt that in, the deepest way emotionally. That struck such a nerve. And I'm a masochist. I'm a glutton for pain. I watched it 3 more times and I kept crying every time, bawling, sobbing. You know what I mean? Like I was losing it, and just I wish I could have seen it myself, because I'm pretty sure I would look at it and others would look at it, not me. I'm sure others would look at it and be like, that's fucking pathetic. But to me, I'd be like, shit, man, that's just who I am. I'm an emotional
that's
guy.
How it is.
With
For
music.
one, going through that track list, I'm like, all of them are so good. Of like, and just those last 3, the way they lead into each other,
the way that they flowed was incredible. It's really just one song. It's one 16-minute song of beautiful instrumental, beautiful melodics, not ambient noises, like I guess it is. It's melodic deathcore, really, is what it is. And Lorna Shore always has been. Those 3, though, man, back to back to back. They set the emotion, they set the course, and you know exactly what each one's about. First one's about losing someone. Second one's about losing yourself. And the third one's about waking up from the hell of a dream that you kind of had, So I'm extremely excited to touch on our top 5 albums and explain, and not just touch on them, explain why we picked these, the songs that grabbed us, the ones that just were like, why did you pick these out of every single, probably, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw a number out there, 200 albums that were released this year. Why are these our top 5? And I'm extremely excited to touch on that next week, but I think we can perfectly go ahead and lead into our top 5 right now.
Definitely. And what was number 5?
Number 5, we will do Techno by Electric Callboy. Also for the OGs, Eskimo Callboy. Um, damn, that brought the old feel back. The crab core, the stomping, that was beautifully put together musically,
Yeah.
instrumentally, and it's just these guys, they almost write songs as memes, dude. They're
Mm-hmm.
literally memes. Pump it, hypa hypa,
Spaceman.
yeah, Spaceman, Hurricane. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Um, and
Mhm.
then I guess so. We don't want to touch too much on each one. We'll go to, I guess, number 4.
Yeah. I mean, I could be fine. I could be fine
Okay.
with touching on techno
Oh,
just a little bit
go
more
ahead.
because it is
Absolutely.
just like
Throw it in. Let's
the
go.
way it flows. Of like, I guess that's what I love is like to me, it felt like 2003 meets 2023.
Yeah.
It's like
That.
that's that
Yep.
fusion of like
Yep.
in the songs they are just like I'm a spaceman, da-da-da," and you're
Dude.
like that's, and then like it all is good. And the striking thing is like at the end of the day, it's 10 songs and just 30 minutes long. Like you
Yeah.
can listen to it on the way home,
Yes.
like the whole album. And like
Arrow
it's
of
all so
Love.
good.
Arrow of Love. The music video kills me for that. Techno Train. We're riding on that techno train.
Like it's
Like,
so literal.
what the fuck? Like, choke, 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 choke. Like, come on, dude. Like, that's hilarious. Like,
Oh,
Pump It's about literally working out. We
yeah.
got the moves. Literally just boom, boom, party boying the whole time to the whole song.
Like
That whole
LMFAO kind of like
yeah,
it was
dude.
like a weird callback.
And hear me out. I think you'll agree with this 100%. I think a lot of other people will too, dude. You could listen to that in a club. You could listen
Yeah,
to every song off that album in a club. You could
that's
rave to
true.
that shit. They are going on tour in the US this year, and I am so fucking excited to see them. I'm so excited. Like,
Yeah.
they are probably the number one band I'm most excited to see this year that I haven't ever seen. Um, right, I'll say they're in front because they are number one for me. Right, in front of Chelsea Grin and Spite.
Yeah.
Spite and Chelsea Grin are on my list for must sees.
Yeah. I could see that. I'm like it, but yeah, everything about it. I would definitely love to see them. And the mix of like the German and the English and just
Yep.
like so everything about like, and I guess that's what gets me is it's that mix of like everything. Like it has like the funniness of like LMFAO, but also like has those hints of like just so many things.
Almost every single song on that album
It's
makes
good.
you, yeah, it makes you want to punch drywall when the breakdown. Like every single one has just about has a breakdown, and it's just like
Yeah.
you just want to fucking hit shit, dude.
Yeah. When I used to do construction work as a teenager and we were like tearing stuff down or if something was done wrong, that was one of the best things. It's just like putting on an album and just like ripping stuff down for like half an hour of like very few things are as fun as like actually like punching through drywall and ripping out insulation.
Of course, of course.
And then it's like, yeah, then the insulation makes your skin itch like you took too much pre-workout.
Yeah, we're with you, Kyle. We like punching drywall too. Okay.
We're with you. Everyone has a Kyle. But
Yes.
yeah, so that's the main thing. It's like that's why I'll go with the ranking that you gave, but I will say that this could edge up there.
Yeah,
But that's the hard thing. It's like 2022 was such a good year for albums that it was hard to like nail down.
it
Like
really
it's funny we
was.
call this a top 5, but in my mind, it's almost a top 3 because I think there are some things that would tie with each other
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people are going to be really upset that Devil Wears Prada, that their album's not on here. Not that you know, not that you know yet.
You don't know what
You
anything.
don't know.
But yeah, I guess that concludes techno.
Okay, then we'll go to our number four. We talked about him earlier. Fit for a King. They released "The Hell We Create," and for me, this was that old Fit for a King sound. And we heard a Ryan Kirby, at least I've never heard, within Reaper.
Yeah, just a phenomenal song.
The deathcore vocals, where did they come from, dude?
Yeah,
Uh, this song, front to back, every song on it's great. Um, Ryan Kirby is a very much underrated, I think, vocalist within the scene. He has a very phenomenal voice. He has one of the longest screams ever in Backbreaker. I believe it's 34 seconds, somewhere around there. But, you wouldn't think seeing that live that, it'd be like that. But no, nails it on the spot every time. Great live band. They really set the tone for the metalcore sound on this album. And like I said, front to back, this is an amazing song album. Uh, and I'll let you add in and interject into what your thoughts were with, hearing this album this year.
yeah. For me, here's one thing that was the kicker. Like you talked about the vocals on Reaper, like because I put the album on and I was going to listen to the whole thing. There was a second where I actually had to like double check while I was driving that it was the same album because a part of me was like, this feels like it's something different and everything. Like part of me thought that like it would be a guest vocalist or something on there, and I was like, no, it's just
Yeah,
like
no, that was,
if there was a guest vocalist, he wasn't credited. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that's what was impressive. Is because the funny thing is it's followed by a song that actually features the ghost inside. So I was like,
Yes.
a part of me thought that it was a feature song, and I was like, no, this is just him, like
I,
just like
I think
really
another,
hitting it.
I think another one on that album that really kind of struck me was Eyes Roll Back.
Yeah,
And believe it or not, as much as I love heavy music, I think my favorite song on that album was Fracture.
yeah,
I don't know why. The chorus was beautiful. The intro into the song was good. His voice was great. I liked the flow of that song. And I mean, when I listened through that whole album, Fracture was always the first one I kind of listened to. I
yeah.
really, really enjoyed that one.
And here's one thing that's like it's a weird nitpick, and maybe it's just like a weird kind of like OCD thing. But I absolutely love when bands start with the title track and it's a really good song. That like you're like, that's why like it's the hell we create, and it starts off so good.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
it just like continues flowing. Of like the end was really great, of like had those highs and lows. And then like falling through the sky is just a great kind of like soaring song.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you actually feel like it is that
Yes,
like
yes, and
feel.
they did such a great job, kind of adding in that old Fit for a King feel into their
Yeah.
choruses. The hell we create, uh, it is almost written exactly like Price of Agony. I think that's the song I'm thinking of. It's almost exactly like Price of Agony.
Yeah.
Just the way that it flows. Not the drums aren't the exact same and the guitar, you know, but the way that it flows, the way that it's written is, you know. Is there anything else that you want to bring up about that one?
Yeah, for one, it's just like it's funny that like once again another album with 10 songs and they're all really good. That's why it's hard not to argue that any of these feel like almost a 10 out of 10 of like I thinking about it, there's not any one song that I've like taken off. Like there are sometimes I'll have an album like let's say an album like City of Evil where I say that I love the whole album, but if you look at it, I listen to 6 out of the songs. Like I listen to like you clearly favor the songs.
Yes.
Whereas this for me was an album that for one I like an album that you can play back to back of like and I just like it ends on a solid note in my mind. And it just does have those mixes of like it's weird to like in the middle Reaper and like you said, goes on to Fracture and then Ending and stuff. And also, the it's funny that the second song is called End, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Like it just has like all those things I love about Fit for a King in one song.
Yeah. Like I said, front to back, this is one of the like best flowing kind of albums in the sense of each song kind of goes into the next. Kind of like uh City of Ocala on Common Courtesy goes right into right back at it again. Right off of that chord. You know what I'm talking about? And that's kind of how that album feels. It kind of all flows like that.
Yeah.
Stand Up and Scream for Asking Alexandria was also a lot like that. But I guess we can go to number 3. Dedication to Flesh by Spite.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch too much on this one because I want to talk a lot about this one in the next week.
Yeah.
The next two, I'm gonna hit with some stuff for both a lot. I want to put a lot of focus on those ones because I think all around in the scene, those were the top two. But man, Darius's fucking vocals on this album, dude, what the fuck?
So
Hangman.
good.
He just came out with the vocal cover for Hangman, live one take. Check it out on YouTube if you haven't. He has such an incredible dynamic scream, and we touched on it last episode. Some guys, they don't actually scream. This motherfucker does. And Caved In, Made to Please, Dedication to Fletch, the title track, and like just this whole album, every song goes right into the next. Every song has their own little, like the guitars, the drums, everything's so crisp, heavy. The sound is great. And his scream is by far on this album, in my opinion, the best it's ever sounded. Perfect mixes of highs, perfect mixtures of mids, and perfect mixes of lows. They're just, the lyrical content is aggressive. It's right in your face. And I have so much good things to say about this that I want to definitely
Yeah.
save.
No, it definitely is good. Like it is like on the heavier side, and like it's an interesting mix because I think it hits that like mid thing of like it's still excellent in my mind, but the next two are like really because I this still was great, a great album. Don't get me wrong
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff, but there was like yeah, like there's still like I really like the Most Ugly was like probably my favorite track on there.
That's a
And
really good one. I think Fear's on there too. Fear's a
oh,
really good one.
yeah, because they come back to back. It's that
Yes.
middle of the album of like, because some albums I feel like they kind of crest and then it just kind of declines and then just kind of ends. Whereas this was nice to have that solid like, it's just good.
Found
Like
like
it's
that
a yeah,
foundation that's kind of sets in the middle to lead
yeah,
it to the end. Yeah. I agree. It's just so, to me, it's just so interesting because I believe Darius left Spite, kind of got away from him. They kind of weren't together anymore. And then they came back and just wrote this masterpiece. And I just think it's amongst their best work.
Andy's going to bed real quick. She'll just make a guest appearance.
Maybe.
Love you. Sleep well.
But yeah, so that's all I'll touch on with that one.
Yeah,
We'll come back into that. I'll kind of break down we will both kind of break down each track that really stood out to us.
yeah. Because that's the main thing is like I like the fact that they have 5 minute songs and they had 2 minute songs. Like
Yes.
that's a good mix of like it was an interesting thing to like hear that of just like just got what you needed and didn't draw it out because I think sometimes it's nice to have that variety because I feel like some bands will find like a good 2 minute loop and they'll just loop it 3 times.
Yes.
It feels like.
Yeah, and
It's always nice when you're just like that. You could almost put it as the background of a Reels video, and it would just be a good Reels.
Yeah, and it's not like you're
seconds.
listening to a Metallica album where every song's fucking like 5+ minutes, a minute and a half the intro, like, which nothing wrong with that at all. I'm just saying, I'm agreeing with you. All right, we're gonna get to the top 2.
The top 2, and
everybody and their mother knows. Florida Shore Pain Remains.
So good,
dude. Welcome back, oh sleeping dreamer. My fucking God. I cannot express the that I had when I heard that song. And it builds for 45 seconds. Okay. And then you feel something's coming. You feel it. And then it grabs you by the fucking nuts. Comes right into a nasty breakdown. Nasty, fast, speedy. And then, all right, we're going to slow down into a beat down. And then speed the fuck back up and go right into a fucking verse, into a chorus. What the fuck? This whole album, front to back, in my opinion, fuck you, anybody who doesn't like it because they're popular. They earned this spot. They have been around for such a long fucking time. They've went through so much shit with prior vocalists. And, like, they got everything they deserved with the hype that came out with that EP. And I Return to Nothingness. That motherfucker, dude, I could just go on. The whole album flows great. They dropped great singles to give us an idea of what the hell we were going to get ourselves into, too. Okay?
Yeah.
And you know what they did not do, though? In any of those singles, there wasn't one song where you're like, oh, I haven't heard this yet. Oh, well, look no deeper. Look no further. Listen to Wrath. Listen to Apotheosis. The voice that this man has and the ability he is able to bring with his range is just phenomenal. And I do not want to give Will all the credit for this band's success, not whatsoever, because they've been around for a long time. Tom Barber, the vocalist for Chelsea Grin, Darko US as well. He started with these guys, and they had some great. Godmaker is an amazing song. One of my favorite by them, actually, with him. Infernum. List goes on. And then you had CJ McCreery. The stuff went on with him, the allegations, whatever. They may have come out to be true. But anyways, they almost didn't even release that album, guys. Mm-hmm. And you put your heart and soul into this kind of stuff. And these guys, like I said, they've been at it for, I think, 10, 12 years. And they found Will. I can't remember the band that he started in off the top of my head before he came. You may be able to look it up. But listen, this is a guy that nobody's ever heard anything like this aside from like Infant Annihilator, Dickie Allen. This is just, I could just go on. Man, they dropped to the Hellfire, and you heard something you never heard before. You didn't even know a human could make this noise.
Oh, those pig squeals.
You didn't even know the snorts. And then you're thinking to yourself, okay, the gain's turned up on this dude. They edit the hell. It's layered. Go see him live. Watch his one takes. Dude's an amazing vocalist. He brought a lot to the band. And that To the Hellfire, they wrote a masterpiece that was needed for the almost a dying genre. And I don't know if they ever reached 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, but the fact that a deathcore band came that close is unheard of. Dare I say, they became the Suicide Silence in a sense. And like I said, we will touch on a lot more of this next week with that, but that is my just right there to why that album, and they're coming up to that. I can't think of a band that deserves it more off the top of my head, other than a band that got it, and that's Ice Nine Kills
Hmm.
with the Silver Scream, and then they came out with Welcome to Horrorwood. You know, that band's been around forever as well.
Yeah.
Completely changed their genre, came into their own, and just yeah. So I'm extremely excited to touch on that. That's an emotional one for me. That's one I take a lot of I put a lot of my heart into that one. Would you like to touch on anything within this
Yeah.
album?
I mean, I would say for one, Into the Hellfire, like that really was like revolutionary. But this album is great. And one thing I do want to touch on is, for one, we've talked about gatekeeping in the past, which is something that I think is an issue. But what's even worse issue is, for one, music's one of the only things that once someone makes it good, like there's a portion of the fans who are just shitty to the band, which is
Yeah,
weird because it's you and I are both into strongman. It's like if you supported someone all the way until they become world's strongest man, and then you're like, fuck that guy,
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, wait, what are you talking about?
How dare you fucking become successful for all the hard work that you've put into it?
Hafthor,
Like,
you're a sellout. You weren't
like
even that strong. It's like, no, that's he deserves it.
I've never understood that. And then you got the guys that are like, well, I don't really listen to them because they're popular. What the fuck do you mean? Do you, do you just? I understand that you want to put your heart and soul into this music and you want it to reach people, but why do you want to play in a fucking basement in front of 30 fucking people? You should
Yeah,
want to you should want to get your name out there. You should want some success for yourself. And you know, a lot of people really like that underground scene, and that's fine. But then these bands come out and then they're like, I don't fucking like them anymore. Why? Why, man?
yeah, and
Like,
that because they've worked hard to perfect it.
yeah, and they want to
Of
make a
like, yeah,
living doing something they enjoy. Like I never have understood that about bands. Like Metallica with the Black Album, bro. People fucking hated it. Like,
yeah,
what? It's literally one of their. I mean, it's not their best album to me,
yeah.
but you can't
But it's
argue.
still a good album.
Stats don't lie about that
Yeah.
album or the songs on it. They don't lie. Stats don't lie. And like, yeah, I
Yeah, I mean,
hate that.
I think one thing that I think really that I appreciate about you is the fact that you like being different, but you're also not doing it just to like be different. Because I feel like that's some people, they're like, I like being different, and then once something they like becomes somewhat mainstream or well known, suddenly they're like, nope, that sucks. Never
Yeah,
really was a fan, or like only like their old stuff that no one cares
yeah.
about. And
Like,
you're
come
like,
on, man, get out of here, you negative Nancy.
yeah,
Like,
because it helps everyone. Of like one thing I always talk about is like it overall just helps the genre and
yeah,
stuff. Like you're bringing more people in, and to me, it's really impressive to see these guys who are younger than I am revolutionizing the sound
yeah,
and stuff.
and
Like Will Ramos, just very talented and stuff. Like Awake in Paradise was a great side
yeah,
band and stuff. Like
and
he's done good stuff.
we have a lot more to come with it. You know, this is
Yeah,
the first album with them, and they haven't. Well, I wouldn't say they haven't had a steady vocalist. I mean, Tom was in it for a few years, more than a few years. They just couldn't gain that little bit of success. He left to go take over Alex Kohler's spot in Chelsea Grin. Chelsea Grin now, in my opinion, has a very, very phenomenal, great sound with Tom added in. And then CJ came in. He had his little sound. He had his little situation that pulled him out. And then, like, it's just like this grind that these guys went for and got, you know, and people like hate on it. It's like, you know, if you've seen the amount of time that these guys put in to their music, like, I think you'd be willing to respect it. But just like, I don't know, it just upsets me because I
yeah,
personally, I'm somebody that works very hard for my goals and I want something. I usually don't stop until I get it. And like for somebody to shit on you for that, it's just not fair to you. It's not
yeah.
like, it's not just Will, it's not just CJ, and it's not just Tom. That whole band.
Mhm.
Um,
And they like you talk about putting your heart and soul into it. Like to me, it's very impressive to you have 10 songs over just a hair over an hour long. Like they're all good. Like they're all well done. There's no filler. There's no recycling things, at least in my mind. And like you said, of like those last three, that's just like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 9 minutes, like
That's a
20
fucking
minutes of your life. Like that could just alone be a standalone EP and you'd be blown away.
that's a fucking heart wrencher. Those last three, man, that sends you through an emotional roller coaster. Will Ramos even said that he wants to write about different things, not just killing people and wanting everybody dead. He wanted to have this album be something you could fucking mosh to, something you could cry to, something you could get angry to, and that's exactly what they brought to the table. So that is exactly why it's number 2 on the list.
The number one, though.
Number 1, everybody knows, Bad Omens.
As far as when you talk about crazy success like that, this is where it's at.
Death of Peace of Mind. This was such I mean, and this, you could even argue that this is not even metal. But here it is on the list with some of the heavier bands, biggest bands in metalcore, whatever. This band started as just that, a metalcore band, and they came out with this album and it sets the tone for something different right off the first track, Concrete Jungle.
Yeah.
The I don't even know how to say it. The bass, the different feel, the different flow that leads into it. The higher singing, you're almost like, what the hell? I know when I first listened to the album, I was not a fan. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I think their first single was Death of Peace of Mind, and I'm like, this is too soft. And then I got to the breakdown, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that chugs. I could bang my head to that. And then I think they came out with Artificial Suicide, and then you're like, oh fuck yeah, dude, this is that. Yeah.
So
and then
good.
Then we waited for this album. Long story short, I hated it at first. It has become my favorite, and I think a lot of people's number 1 album of the year, and well deserved. Noah Sebastian, his vocal range, I don't know where it came from. You know, Finding God Before God Finds Me, the album prior to this, they came out with a deluxe edition. They came out with an unplugged. And, you know, if you listen to Mercy, you listen to Never Know, you're just like, where did this voice come from? Like, it's completely different. And then you had Limits on that album. His voice, the range that he's able to go, you know, to sounding like that typical screaming / singing voice into a kind of a clean, into like a sort of a scream, and then just singing, and then really singing. Like, yo, this dude's got a really good voice. And on this album, it is shown. This is a beautiful written album. Nowhere to Go, Just Pretend, everybody's favorite, Death of Peace of Mind, Concrete Jungle. They all have their own little cool factor to them. You know, you got a more electronic kind of song with Concrete Jungle. Goes into a groovy little breakdown where he says he's the fucking king. I mean, come on, man. Dude's a siren. See him live. And I tell everybody, like, hey, man, you know, here's a really cool band you should check out. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, you know, sure. Like, do you like The Weeknd? Yeah. All right, well, think of The Weeknd, but he also screams. That's what they are. It's like a hardcore version of The Weeknd.
Yeah. And that's the main thing, is like they have everything. Of like, we've hit on that, of like that variety of being able to like nail such a wide variety of sound, be able to do it well. Of like, looking through the track list, so many of the songs, they're all just so good. It's like,
oh, the gray.
Yeah.
Oh, the gray, his voice.
Yeah.
The lyrics behind every song. Lying is hard and the truth comes out anyway. That lyric right there hits everybody in a sense. Death of Peace of Mind. Love's a death of peace of mind. What else drives you crazy other than love? Such a conflicting thing. And then perfect example of these bands that want this commercial success and are not afraid to fucking admit it. Look at I Don't Want the Money. The
That was such a good song. Where
the
you're like,
song the song has nothing to do with not wanting the money. He wants that fucking money. Like, it's just there's so many things about this album that are so good. And his voice to me is the front runner. I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever heard.
yeah, because at least for me, hearing this album was like the first time. What was it? Is it Pierce the Veil's "King for a Day"? A
Yeah,
song that I just absolutely love, just because it has everything you need. Of
so
like,
good.
yeah, and that's how this was. It's like, yeah, at least for me, like it definitely. I guess a part of me, the first time I heard it, felt like it was hard not to draw comparisons to like Architects, to like Bring Me the Horizon, to like those bands. It's hard not to like draw those dots and
Yeah,
everything. And I think to me, it's impressive when bands pursue that like commercial success. Like to me, it's impressive to see when like a band's gonna go and do that. Of like, because ideally, you want people to be able to make a living doing what they love. And I think oftentimes there's this weird kind of feeling that somehow like music is more authentic if you're not getting paid well for it. And I think that kind of that sucks. Like I wouldn't want people to be like, well, like John was doing well until he made some money.
yeah.
Or like, oh,
Because
cool.
well, then they're, I guess the argument to that would be then like, well, he's making money now. He doesn't need to make good songs. He just can write something up. He's already got the fame. It's going to be listened
Mhm.
to. You know what I mean? So I think that's where that dynamic kind
Yeah.
of gets thrown in. And still to this day, there's some people that you know, have only listened to their self-titled and then Finding God Before He Finds Me. And they're like, I don't like that whole sounding like this and that. Like, man, it's okay. You don't gotta like it. But guess
Yeah.
what? They changed their sound every album leading to this. And I can't say enough about how incredible this was. This album is every song on this album is in my top 10 for music listened to for the year.
Yeah.
Okay. And it shocks a lot of people because I listen to heavy ass shit. I like heavy stuff. In your face, ignorant stuff. And then you have this that is just so polar opposite. It
Mhm.
conflicted me when I uh, admitted to how much I liked it. I'm like, why? Like, how? But just the voice, the creativity, and I believe they pretty much self-produced this. Noah and the guys in the band, you know, I believe they did it with Finding God Before God Finds Me as well. And during COVID, he was streaming. They were doing live shows. And then they were finally opened up on tour. They went on tour with The Day to Remember.
So good.
I've
That
I've
tour, I'm so sad I missed that.
I've never seen the opening band be loved so much, have such crowd interaction. I can't express that enough. Like, this band came out with this album, Just Pretend came out, people loved it. They started listening to more of it, and this is a band, in my opinion, that I think deserves just as much credit as every other one. They found their sound through maybe trial and error. To me, it's not. To others, maybe. I think they had some great songs on the first album. The second album, they had even better ones with a different sound, a different feel. And then you went to this that is so. I mean, you take off Artificial Suicide, it's you would never think that was Bad Omens, and that's what's almost it's the most poetic thing about it to me. So I just am very thankful that this album came out because it's got a song for kind of every mood you're in.
Mhm.
And like, if you like people that can sing, man, this dude can fucking sing.
And that's the thing about it. Like I like I guess to me, what I really appreciated about this album is like I can share it with my wife. I can share it with people who aren't big fans of like there's a because after a while, like you have to realize some of the bands are like an acquired taste of like you're not gonna just share
Yes.
that with everyone. Whereas this is one of those few song or one of those albums. I mean, I was about to say few, but there's so many good albums like that. That like a lot of what A Day to Remember has is good that I can just put on as a general mix if
Yeah.
you have
Show
people
anybody
over.
it, and
Like,
they're like, "Oh, hey, I
yeah,
like that one."
yeah, if you're in with the,
Yeah,
and I think that's the part of like it's a very polished sounding album,
it
but they
is.
nail everything, and I
It
think
is
that's
perfectly
all.
mixed.
I guess that's also comes a little bit in with the gatekeeping that's always weird to me is when people don't like when bands finally have decent studios to record in.
Yeah.
That they're like wait, they're like I like that sound when they couldn't afford to actually record anything properly
Yeah.
and everything.
Copy that. They probably love Mayhem too, that recorded literally soundcore. Just put a
Yeah.
mic in the middle of the room and just played. Come on. Yeah.
And that's
I
that's a main thing of like
a
yeah.
polished album like this is what should get great credit, you know.
And looking through the list, I mean all 15 songs are good. Like they're
Yes.
really great and like you said it I think one of the things that like I've realized as I get older is I appreciate the stuff that I did when I was younger, but I also appreciate the new stuff.
Yeah.
And like this is that blend of like it was interesting to me after kind of like taking a break from part of the scene in a way to like come back to things and be like, this is good. Like this is really like where it's at. And I think yeah, I mean, I think bands deserve their success. Like, it's a good album, and in my mind, it doesn't feel like they compromised anything. There are some bands that like I've really loved that like some of their albums, you're like, this doesn't feel like you gave it 100%.
Yeah.
Of like a band that I love, like this isn't metal, but like punk rock was like some of Against Me stuff that came out later. So some of their later albums, you're like, it's just like it doesn't feel as good and stuff because I still like some of their stuff when they got like a decent studio and everything. And that's also, I think, yeah, I think it represents that duality of life of like the beauty, the madness, the everything of being able to have that and like hit you from every angle and stuff. Like it's always nice to me when I have like a heavy song you could share with almost everyone or
Yeah.
a heavy-ish. And I guess it comes back to that gatekeeping thing. I remember people being like, "Oh, like that's more of like a girly metal album." You're like, "What's that even mean?"
Yeah. What the
They're like,
hell? I know chicks that I mean love Lorna Shore, like love Infinite Annihilator. Like, come
yeah.
on. There's no such thing as girly metal. I mean, fuck.
And that's the main thing. It's like I think there are those people who they're like, no, like what's real metal is like a microphone in the middle of a mosh pit with music playing over it. Like
Yeah.
that's real metal. And you're like,
Yeah, no, it's
oh,
not.
cool. Like it's fun to be there, but there are plenty of bands that like, especially when I was more in like the hardcore scene, when I was like straight edge for a while and stuff. Like there are some of those bands that like I only listen to live. Like they're very rarely that are, like I would listen to some albums throughout.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah,
I'm a sucker for a good live band. A band
yeah,
that sounds good live is so important for my love and appreciation for the craftsmanship.
yeah.
Anyone can go in. I mean, not anybody clearly, but within reason, anybody can go in that has a decent voice, come in, sing, polish it up, add effects, layer it, auto tune it, add in some drums, edit the drums, etc., etc. You can do that. It's not easy, but you can do it.
Hmm.
But then they go do it live and replicate it. That to me is a big thing. I think that if you can create a beautiful album, you should be able to come out and perform it very well. And I understand that you have some bad days as a vocalist. That's understandable. I'm not saying that, but coming out there and not sounding a damn thing or singing the way that the whole album was done, you know, don't do that. It's kind of like I love watching vocal covers as well.
Yeah,
Uh, My biggest pet peeve personally with vocal covers is when people don't sing it or scream it the way that it is done. They add their own little twist to it. Like, no, don't do that.
Mhm.
I think the beauty of it's kind of the perfection to it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, though. That's
No, I think I go back and forth on those kind of things because there's a artist who keeps popping up on my YouTube, so I'll listen to some of his stuff. Ren. He's like a British guy who does like was in some band that does some covers and stuff. It's entertaining stuff, but it's I think a band that can perform live, that's really what puts it over the top. Of like that's part of why I remember years ago that was a big deal that um, NoFX, the punk rock band, the Fat Records. I'm pretty
mm-hmm.
sure like what's his name?
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
like how he apparently just like shit all over Avenged Sevenfold because he was like they don't drink, they don't get wasted before their
Yeah.
shows, they like practice, and all they care about is putting on a good show. And I was like, what point are you trying to make right now? Like
That that's actually a true thing.
yeah.
They actually I believe it was Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold
Hmm.
when when asked why he wants to be so perfect, it's because he's like nothing feels worse than finding out or gaining success and finding out that like people are coming to see you perform this almost perfectly to a T, and then you're too fucked up to do it. So I started to really focus on the professionalism and perfectionist of it. And I get like the earlier, like when they were first starting to tour, just like every rock and metal band, they go out, they do that thing. But he really wanted that, and so did the Rev and everybody else. So they all came together and became one of the best live performing bands
Yeah.
we ever seen. Look at the LBC concert if you want to see a band that plays exactly how it sounds on every album.
I have a special banner for this. This is Days Without Mentioning Avenged Sevenfold. The counts back to zero.
I think they're always going to be brought up, unfortunately.
It's true. That's one of my banners. I'll just have in the background. I'm just accounting perpetually.
Hey, look who's back there. Does that
Yeah,
count too if we don't talk about them?
that's true. He'll always be in our hearts.
Oh my God, that
So
was
good.
a good add-on, a nice little touch.
I'm like, you can't go without mentioning that, which I think kind of leads into what we were talking about. It's like honorable mentions of last year. Of like, Bullet for My Valentine had some good singles last year. Of like, I really like that album that had like Knives, Thousand Cuts, all that stuff. But that was 2021. That was one of my albums I was going to bring up, and it's
Yeah,
just because
it's
like,
like fuck.
yeah. And then another honorable mention for me would definitely be the classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit by Architects, because that's also like
Yeah,
just a good album.
we actually talked about that one last episode, I do believe.
Yeah.
And I still unfortunately have not listened to too
It's
much
because
of
there's
it.
too much stuff going on.
But I'm sure, I mean, hell, their last album that they came out with was it Animal, was the name
Yeah,
Animals?
Animals. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that
no,
was
For Those Who Wish to Exist, which was a
that's what it
great
was.
title.
That's what it was.
I love a good title for an album.
Yes, and that was very good. So I'm expecting high things when I finally get to listening to that. Um, I'll just throw in two quick ones here for honorable mentions because I mean, hell, there's so many that you could list, but I'm just gonna say Color Decay, Devil Wears Prada. So much emotion, you could hear it in Mike's voice. The whole band, is great, phenomenally written. Lyrics are deep. They cut you like a knife if you've dealt with some of the stuff that you can relate to within the lyrics. And then, I mean, it's an oddball, but for me, I'm going to say Darko US's Oni, however you say it, ONI.
Yeah.
You got Josh Miller from Amir, who is one of the biggest bands back then in that 2006 era. And then Tom Barber from late Lorna Shore, now Chelsea Grin, now he's in Darko. It's just a 2-piece band, and they are active. They're constantly coming out with stuff. They just did a live studio take of, I think it's Cool Dude,
Yeah.
Looking Glass, and Dragon Chaser. Did a live take of that. He did one of Insects. It's been great. That album had Ryo from God. Oh my gosh. Crystal Lake. He's no longer in it. He unfortunately left. But and then you had Taylor Barber from Left to Suffer. You know, like there were some big names on there. And on the previous album they had Courtney LaPlante, Ben Durr from Shadow of Intent. This band's been very active in the scene. I don't know what the hell you want to call their genre. It's definitely within the metal. But the fact that it's a 2-piece band and it sounds good, and it is so different. It's like you're tripping on balls in space listening to metal. It's almost what it kind of feels like with the guitars and the drums and like the outside of this world kind of sounds. So I gotta give some credit to my dude Tom Barber as well. I do want to say the 2 Chelsea Grins, Suffer in Hell and Suffer in Heaven. I really liked what I've heard from those. So those would be my honorable mentions as of right now off the top of my head.
And there's so much we could go into.
Oh yeah. And
that's why we had to limit ourselves to 5. Otherwise, like here we are over an hour and a half and only 5 albums. Like, because some people go through top 10s. I was like, we might eventually. That'll be.
We'll name from 6 to 10 next week, guys.
6 to 10 next
week. 6
week.
to 10 next week. Yeah, that's what we'll do.
And then our 10th episode, we'll just celebrate by doing our top 10 albums of all time. And just do a live stream on YouTube, the whole thing. I'm just like, here's what we think about this.
Dude, I would try it. It'd be hard for me to pick. Mine would not be in any specific order, to be honest with you.
And a part of it, like while we did show an order for this, for me, these 5 albums bled together a lot.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, of course I'd say Bad Omens, just like, I think you just can't deny the craftsmanship. You can't deny how well it's put together, and it's always slaps. And I think, which is hard because in reality, I'd still say like I agree with the top 2, and then the last 3 kind of are almost tied all in my mind.
Yeah, and that's
like, because that's the thing. It's like you can't pick your kids. It's like someone's like, pick your favorite cat, and I'm like, you got to see Cinnabon, you got to see Pop Tart, and they're all my favorites.
It's really hard to do, and it's hard because I want to say I'm using the right word here. Subjective. It's opinionated.
Yeah,
it can't really be proved, I guess, unless you like really looked at the streams. But this is for us to talk about, for us to have people maybe get involved with. That's okay, and that's the fun of it. And like we both have said, probably for the fucking 100th time, there were amazing albums this year. North Lane had one, I believe. I think it's North Lane. And then that's not even including the singles that we could have talked about this year that have come out. I mean,
this year's already 6 weeks in.
There's just so much, and you just want to try to focus on the ones, I guess to me and to you that like really, showed through. It's really hard to kind of do those top 3, the 3, 5, 4, 3. It's kind of hard to put them, in a specific order because each one has something that you might like a little bit more. But this, you know what I mean? But the top 2, I think a lot of people would agree with those top 2 this year for our specific scene that we speak about and are talking about. I could be wrong, but by popular demand, I think that's damn near pretty close to what everyone would say within the scene.
Oh, I think so, and I think we are running a little long. So I was thinking maybe we'll wrap things up, but once we're done recording, I can guarantee you Cam and I are going to plan some good stuff for next week.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Cam
I'm
slammed
extremely
it out of
excited
the
for
park
that.
with this one. Do
Yeah.
you want to leave people with any last thoughts?
No, man. So I'll just touch on it. Let's shoot us some content you guys want to hear from us, from John and I. What you want to talk about. If you want to join, you want to be a
Yeah.
guest, let us know. Reach out. Links are in the bio. Subscribe to the channel. Add us on Spotify. Apple Music should be out on every streaming platform. King Listener reviews. I just want to kind of end it with, if you want to listen to two guys that are really involved within music and put their passion and emotion into this, and you want some, maybe conflicting opinions or opinions that you agree with, feel free to join, listen. Like I said, subscribe, like it. And, we're excited. We got some big plans for this. I will say right now, we're going to have a pretty big guest in the scene. I'm not going to say who, but probably by episode 5, we're going to have a pretty big guest out on here that's starting to write with his band again. And we're going to keep going on. Hopefully get Chris Franzak from Attila on here. We got the plans, and they're going to fall into place. So if you want to get involved, hop on now, because big things are coming, guys. That's all I got to say.
It's true. Techno train's taking off. Chugga
Yep.
chugga.
Chug, 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 chug. We're riding on the techno train, baby.